Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Joe2 here back at it with your AEW Fyter Fest Night 2 review for last night, July 21st, 2021. Uh, big show, or good show, rather I say, with some big news coming out. As you can tell by the thumbnail, I'll be talking about the reports of Daniel Bryan signing with AEW. Also, there's reports that CM Punk is in talks with AEW as well. I'll touch on that in a bit, but thank you for joining me. Uh, Today I'll talk about all that along with the review today on the podcast. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button as well as the subscribe if you want to see more of my pro wrestling reviews. If you hadn't, check out my Impact Slammiversary review on Sunday as well as my AEW Fyter Fest Night 1 review. I re-uploaded on Monday due to some difficulties. And then, of course, Tuesday, Sports Overview Topics was uploaded again, episode number 57. So check that out if you want. Nonetheless, getting that out of the way, let's touch on to the review now, shall we? So, AEW Fyter Fest Night 2 started off hot, and I figured with when these two matches were going to start and open the show, and which I hope happened. Where so he started with Chris Jericho for Shawn Spears. Jericho's first labor in order to get to MJF. So MJF, he was on commentary. And boy, was he hilarious, taking shots at both JR and Tony Schiavone. It was so joyful seeing, after all what Tony Schiavone has said about MJF, the fact that they were sitting together. That was just a funny spot. But now getting to the match, so of course the stipulation was Shawn Spears, the chairman, could use a chair, but Jericho could not. So most of this match was about Jericho protecting himself from the chair, which of course Shawn Spears brought the chair with him to the ring. So they were fighting on the outside, and of course a spot that Jericho does every once in a while, especially since being in New Japan, where he takes a cameraman's camera and then he films his opponent. So he hijacked the camera for a bit and then filmed Tony Blanchard, who was at ringside, and Aubrey Edwards, who was a referee to their. Well, it showed that they were not pleased with the spot, but I'm sure deep down they enjoyed it, definitely. So, but nonetheless, so getting back to the match, so Jericho went for it looked to be his corner dropkick combination, but off the second rope, but Spears caught him, threw a chair in the face of Jericho, because illegal. So Jericho got the advantage back with the enziguri. Then a top rope throw by Spears for a near fall. Then Spears, because the padding was still there for Jericho's quote-unquote injured elbow. So Spears targeted Jericho's injured arm with the chair. Jericho then hit a top rope Frankensteiner. Then Spears followed up with a forearm for a near fall. Then Spears hit sky high for the 2 count. Then Spears actually hit Jericho in the face with the chair. And C4 for a near fall. Very believable near fall. Then we get to the end of the match. So Spears, well, first of all, there was a chair wedge in the metal turnbuckle in another corner. So Spears, first he put another chair on top of another turnbuckle, had Jericho on his shoulders, and lifted the chair on the Jericho's back while he was carrying him, and looked to do a C4 on a chair, but Jericho got out of it, threw Spears into the chair that was wedged in between the metal turnbuckle, and then Jericho followed up with Juice Effect for the win. Afterwards, it was short, this celebration, and then once after MJF, to his displeasure, got off commentary and was quick to announce that congrats Jericho, said that thanks to his buddy Sammy Guevara, because in the middle of the match, Jericho had a Walls of Jericho applied on Spears, and Spears was tapping, but Tony Blanchard distracted the referee, and Sammy Guevara stormed off Tony Blanchard. So MJF said that if anyone comes down to help Jericho throughout these labors, then the deal is off and he doesn't get a match for MJF. So then MJF announced that since Jericho likes breaking the rules, next week there'll be a no rules, no disqualification match against a guy that is the most sadistic in the business, that once stabbed his opponent in the jugular, who once robbed the bank with no mask on. He announced that it would be Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage. Nick freaking Gage on Dynamite. Man, last I heard of Nick Gage was in a match with David Arquette, which was a brutal affair. Then Excalibur announced on commentary that once in a match, he was pronounced dead for 8 minutes, and then he revived and wanted to continue the match. This is, well, first of all, I thought that all the labors for Jericho, he would have to go through all the members of the Inner Circle. First of all, that's not the case. Because not the Inner Circle, the Pinnacle. But Nick Gage in a no disqualification match, and this is only the second labor. Man, this is going to be one heck of an uphill battle for Jericho. So then, next match, we have Luke Gallows, or Doc Gallows, whichever they're calling him, of the Good Brothers, versus Frankie Kazarian, the Elite Hunter. Now, as you can tell on TV, and if you watch my Impact Slammiversary review or Slammiversary, you would see that the Good Brothers, they regained their Impact Wrestling Tag Team titles in that Four Corners match Saturday night at Slammiversary. So Gallows, he was out there with Carl Anderson. Kazarian came out alone, and this was a short match. Nothing special. Gallows, he won with a roundhouse kick, followed up with a Baldo bomb for the win. Afterwards, Kenny Omega and Doc Gallows came out, and they were going to beat down on Kazarian, but then Hangman came out for the save, and Doc Gallows, with probably the line of the night, because they were in Dallas, Texas, he said, "What do you want, Hangman Page? That you Cowboys aren't that bright in Dallas. Hence, if you follow the NFL and Dallas Cowboys, yeah." So that was a nice little jab for heat by Don Callis. So Hangman had a glass of something, so he handed it to Don Callis and went to fight off Gallows Anderson plus Omega. So Omega fled, and the Dark Order came in for the save for Hangman and Page. They fled off. And apparently next week, we get the 10-man elimination match between the Elite and the Dark Order and Hangman and Page, where if the Elite win, Hangman and the Dark Order don't get their title shots. If the Dark Order and the Hangman win, of course, the Dark Order get shot at the tag team titles of the Young Bucks, plus Hangman gets his world title shot against Kenny Omega. Plus, you can see, because the damage Omega sustained against his brutal match against Sami Callihan Saturday night at Slammiversary, he had a bandage across his forehead from the pizza cutter shots. So, interesting spot. So, then we had Darby on for Wheeler Yuta. And so this was primarily to get Darby Allin back on TV, and B, to get Wheeler Yuta some more shine, because clearly they see something in him. They threw him against Sammy Guevara last week and Darby Allin this week. So talk about a tough 2-week span for Wheeler Yuta. But the best spot And I cracked up watching this. What the best spot was not between either of these two guys. It was between Orange Cassidy was at ringside for Yuta, and of course Sting was at ringside for Darby Allin. So Sting and Orange Cassidy, they had a brutal exchange of kicks where Orange Cassidy, he puts his hands in his pockets, usual, and then Sting and Orange Cassidy, they have their exchange of Orange Cassidy's devastating super kicks. And then it was just hilarious. Just hilarious. So then after Sting gave a half-ass, where he pounds his chest in a rampage, he did it Orange Cassidy style, and Darby Allin, he was confused. And then so Yuta and Allin, they had an exchange of pinfalls. Finally, Darby and land a stunner along with a coffin drop for the win. Afterwards, Orange Cassidy was laid out by the Blade, who they had a match scheduled for later in the show. Blade laid out Orange Cassidy with brass knuckles. So that was kind of how the segment ended. Again, not much into this match, but primarily to give more shine to Darby and Yuta. So then we had it's surprising and not surprising at the same time that Britt Baker and Nyla Rose, the low point of the show for me, Britt Baker, her first title defense against Nyla Rose. The clash of styles, I tried my best to take notes, try to make this seem interesting, but this match, they just didn't flow well together. But kind of got through it. So it was sloppy. Rose hit Death Valley Driver. Then Rose hit her top rope spot where she suplexes Baker onto the top rope, and she's drenched on the top rope and hits her top rope knee strike for near fall. Baker hit a swing neck breaker along with two super kicks for near fall. And after some sloppy exchanges, Baker got Rose into the lockjaw, at which Rose gave up and Britt Baker retains. So hopefully I assume this is over and we can perhaps get to Britt Baker in something more meaningful now. perhaps Thunder Rosa All Out. I'm not sure. With this, now, for those who watch Slammiversary, you can tell that Deonna Purrazzo and Britt Baker are going to have a little bit of feud and sort of match. So, but one match I had in mind before, just because with the possibilities with the Forbidden Door being open, I thought perhaps you could see Purrazzo versus Britt Baker at All Out, but with the feud with Mickie James, I don't think that's the case for Purrazzo. So perhaps we get Thunder Rosa rekindling her feud with Britt Baker. But we'll see. So then we had Santana Ortiz versus FTR, a press conference for their match next week. We're finally going to get Santana Ortiz versus FTR next week at Fight for Fallen. It was short but sweet. They had some table set. They had some people asking questions. Tony Schiavone, he was officiating this press conference. Santana showed pictures of his mother at 15 when she had him, and them fighting the landlords and out the city just to get a decent place to live. And then Dax got agitated. He said how he knows there's three things in life: that God, the taxes, and next week they're going to beat their asses. So they got agitated. They got out of their seats and they started exchanging, but officials kept them separated. This should be good for next week. Fight for Fallen. They're making it. What I like about these theme shows is they're making it them seem more important. And this match will definitely. We'll see. But with the elimination match, I don't think it will be the main event. But this could definitely seal the show for next week. So then we had Andrade Del Idolo. He was in the ring, and after a smooth week last week of Tony Schiavone not having people take the microphone out of his hands, we had like 2 seconds, and then Andrade took the microphone out of Tony Schiavone's hands. So Andrade announced that he had a surprise for everyone. So the guy that he was with, he showed them a phone or something, and then Tony Schiavone announced that the new executive consultant for Andrade Del Idolo is Chavo Guerrero. Chavo Guerrero is back. Very good seeing him back. They have Vicky there, but she's caught up with Nyla Rose. Chavo, good to see him back. Obviously, his time in WWE and TNA along with Lucha Underground. Yeah, good to see him back. And So then the Death Triangle, after Charles said that Andrade was better than everyone else when it came to talent, all due respect. And then the Death Triangle, they all came out. Pac, Phoenix, Pentagon. Phoenix is back after his injury he suffered in Mexico. So good to see them in front of a live crowd, especially Phoenix, after being injured for a number of weeks. So, Pac said how they heard that their name came out of Andrade's mouth. So, he said that they run from no one. So, Andrade said he's elite. And then he was trying to recruit Penta and Phoenix, but Pac said that they're a family, and Phoenix said that they're the face of the Latinos. So then they got into the ring, confronted Andrade, but he and Chavo and the other man, they escaped the ring. Excuse me. These matches should be epic between Andrade and the Death Triangle. Should be very fun. Very fun. Then we had Orange Cassidy versus the Blade. So, the Blade and the Bunny, they were out there. So, they started to introduce Orange Cassidy, but he didn't show up out of the tunnel. So, the Blade noticed and was like, okay, raise my hand in victory. So then all of a sudden, Orange Cassidy shows up out of nowhere, right behind Blade, taps him on the shoulder, and then Blade turns around and he takes him down, wails on the Blade, and the match gets going. Not that much, although I will say the Blade is a very good wrestler, I must say. So, as a stunner by Orange, then a big lariat by the Blade, followed up with a tombstone pile driver for a 2 count. Then a beach break along with the orange punch for the win. There was a one iffy spot where Chris Statlander came out to fend off the Bunny, but the Blade used her as a shield, and while Cassidy was going for a suicida, he took down not only Blade, but Statlander. So then Orange Cassidy then threw the Blade into the Bunny, which took both of them out. So that was an iffy spot, but nonetheless, okay match. Hopefully this feud is over. I missed the Butcher and the Blade in tag team form. So hopefully that comes back and we can get Orange Cassidy back into something more meaningful. Finally, the main event. So, Jon Moxley versus Lance Archer. Texas Death Match for the IWGP US title. Now, these two guys, obviously, they were Texas Death Match from a year and a half ago in New Japan for the IWGP US title when Moxley took the title from Archer, and Moxley's held the title ever since. So we get this match, and we all know that Archer has deserved better in AEW. He has been built up and built up, but losing when it counts primarily. This match was brutal, as you'd expect, and with Archer being the home state boy or home state man in Texas, this was a big moment for Archer, and luckily he succeeded this time. So they were firing all cylinders to start the bell. Moxley took it to Archer. Archer got the advantage with a pounce, followed up with a senton off the apron. 10-6 were involved. They were wailing on each other. Once Archer brought them into the match, starting his entrance, they brawled into the barricade. They brawled into the crowd. Then when they came back to the ring, it was definitely a plant, but it still was hilarious. Archer threw this fan, quote unquote fan, as a weapon and threw him into Moxley. So that was a heck of a spot. So then they brawled back by ringside. Archer, he exposed the concrete. Moxley hit a DT on Archer on the concrete, which busted him open. But Archer got back before the 10 count. The rules of this match by knockout or submission. So then Moxley found a fork and started jabbing it at Archer's face. And then Archer's leg, it was wedged in a chair when they came back from break, and Moxley stomped from the middle rope onto his chair onto wedging Archer's leg, trying to prevent the big guy from getting back to his feet. So then Moxley tried to use a trash can lid for a spot, but it was knocked back into his face by Archer's fist. And then Archer then hit Moxley with a trash can. Archer set up two chairs next to each other in the ring. Looked like he was setting up for the blackout on both these chairs. But Moxley fought out, hit a low blow. He moved the chairs around so that way, instead of hitting the flat part of the chairs, the top of the chairs, the two wedges were set up. So then Archer